Outdoor.com/champion. Everyone knows that nothing beats a great drive. Well, yeah, that sort of drive. But also this one, too. At Avis, we understand.
Located in the foothills and valleys of Tennessee, there is a farm that we call home, where everything moves a little slower, we work hard and have fun. The blackberries and muscadines have a little tang. We like our horses broke and fast. We use our sawmill and work with our hands. You can typically find us outside or around a bonfire. We go to church on Sundays and we like our tea sweet. We like to rodeo and trail ride. Life has thrown us some curveballs, but there's nothing we can't get through with God and each other. We are Stony Branch Acres. Hey y'all, welcome back. So you'll want to watch this entire episode and not fast forward or skip anything, because I almost killed Kevin while we were building the hay barn. No, I'm serious. I really did. Okay, let's get started. So Kevin really should be the one narrating this because I don't know anything about building. So I'm going to do my best, so y'all stick with me. So for anybody who's new at building, I apologize. I don't really know the difference between just plain boards and beams and things like this, but I'm guessing this is like a structural beam that goes around the outside of it. And what Kevin's doing here is he's measuring, because he's got to cut, I think it's like 2 inches by 3 inches, where he's going to put the board or the beam that runs across the front of the barn. That would go over to the right. So that's what he's doing here. And yes, we basically have every farm animal known to man except for cows and goats. And here's my daughter with our little bunny, Brett. She's so sweet and cute. Such a sweet bunny. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this out there for y'all. I am not the best tractor driver. Kevin always gets on to me about how I move the little shifter, like the hydraulic thingy that moves the bucket or the forks up and down, because I don't do it very, I guess, smoothly. So, yeah, I'm never very confident when I'm driving the tractor. This made me super nervous because I'm lifting Kevin up on these forks and he has a saw in his hand. And no, the saw wasn't turned on right then, but still, it's very nerve-wracking for me. I mean, this looks safe, doesn't it? Who doesn't think this looks safe? I mean, come on now, y'all. So if you watch the video about Kevin's post-concussion syndrome, you'll know that he's dizzy all the time and he has really bad balance issues. So this always makes me nervous when he has these ideas, like getting up on the forks or the bucket of the tractor to cut trees or to build things like this, just because anything can happen at any time. And he's also using a saw here. And you can't see it, but he is off balance. He is dizzy. Some of his cuts aren't correct. And I'm not going to fault him for that, but he's a perfectionist when it comes to building things. So he wasn't very happy with this cut. Okay, so here he said that he thinks it's way easier having me here to help him, because the day before he was trying to do this by himself. And I'm not so sure about that. Well, I don't know if he will be so thankful that he had me today. You'll see later in this episode as to why. So I think here is where he said he'd have a 2-inch by 3-inch board, and it'll stick out, and then it'll go across, and it'll be that front beam. You can't hear over the tractor. He's still talking about that beam that'll rest right there and then go across and go down, or whatever. He's not happy with this cut. It's off. He's not happy. He said it's pretty far off, but it's all right. So this is the other side of the front of the hay barn. We are doing the same thing on this side of the barn. This is the other post on the barn, over to the right. Okay, here he is measuring to cut the boards that will go on top, or the beams that will go on top of these posts that are down in the ground. Okay, something that I've noticed about Kevin is he always double measures. I don't honestly know if that's because of his post-concussion syndrome and now he may be unsure of himself, or if it's just something that he does just to double check. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him. What are those for?
I really think it comes down now because
We'll put it on the inside for right now, so I can. We'll put it on the inside so I can have something to nail to, like screw it to. And then whenever I gotta get those nails, and then I'm gonna toenail them in. But I might get like some like
golf vacations last a lifetime.
long, like maybe like 8-inch screws or something, go right to the top. Just one in each one, and toenail. Should be good. Plus on the outside, I'm gonna have a little bit of a, I guess, I don't know, whatever. I'll get to it.
In that last clip, I could tell that his brain wasn't functioning correctly or working right due to his post-concussion syndrome. Sometimes he knows what he's thinking, but he can't voice it out loud. What are you doing, Floyd? What you rolling? Something dead and nasty? Are you old? Are you an old man? Are you an old man? He's an old man. He's got lumps and bumps. Reba! Pretty girl. No, this episode isn't about his post-concussion syndrome, but it's hard to think about everything we could accomplish if he didn't have this post-concussion syndrome. But we'll get through it day by day. Kevin's so funny. So I believe this is the new square that he got, that red thing. And he was so excited when he got it. He's like, yes, I have this new square. When I saw it, I was like, that thing doesn't look like a square. It looks kind of like a triangle. But, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. So here, this board fell off when he did the last cut, and he wasn't happy about that because it made a little funky piece. This is when he decided to cut off that piece that was messing up the board when he did that last cut. Because if not, he said that it would make it uneven. Alright, these are those little boards that I was asking him in the beginning of this, what those would be used for. I guess that he's going to kind of like brace and use to put the top beams to until we get our other braces put in. I'm sorry, I know that probably makes 0 sense. I'm narrating this the best that I can to my memory. But if you watch this all the way through, and then watch the next episode that I'll soon be making, then you'll realize what these little pieces of wood are for. Alright, now we're rolling. We're getting these beams put up at the top. I think altogether the other day, this took us probably 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours. I can't 100% remember. But those beams are really heavy, and I'm super proud of Kevin for being able to do this on his own. And here he's just leveling it up, making sure everything is correct and level before we continue. And everything's looking good. Okay, so here we're loading more of the wood pieces, the beams, to come over and cut to size to put up at the tops. Kevin's now measuring to make sure that the tractor will be able to fit inside the hay barn. We'll have enough clearance room, which we will. He said we'll have plenty. What? Oh. Not my fault. I am distracting.
Watch out, Goober.
Wilder, get back. It's gonna be loud.
Well, I just don't want to kick him in the face.
Come here, buddy. It's got sawdust. Stand where I am. Trying to do farm projects with kids is so much fun. But I enjoy them watching because they learn what hard work and farm work is all about.
No, not yet, buddy.
Here we're doing the same thing to this left side that we just were to the right side. We came back over to get more of the beams to load up to take back over to the job site. And Kevin normally only loads one beam at a time, and we work off that one beam. Well, this time I gave him the great idea that instead of going back and forth, we should just bring over 2 beams at once. So he was hesitant, but he said, all right, let's do it. We'll do it. That's fine. It's not too often, but sometimes I do actually get off of that cushiony tractor seat and come and help Kevin when he needs help and the time is needed. And these were one of those times. So earlier you probably saw where when we did the one cut that board made that funky thing on the inside because the other side of the board fell. So here I'm holding it up so it won't have those funky edges and it will all match up correctly how it's supposed to. I'm sorry, I thought this chicken was so hilarious behind Wilder that was jumping up to eat these little like berry things that come off of those bushes. It was hilarious. We have these hens and all of our chickens and everything free roam, and these ones were just jumping up and eating the berries off of here. It's so funny to watch. I may be easily entertained. Okay, enough of the chickens, I'm sorry. Back to it. Remember that great idea that I had about bringing the two beams over so we didn't have to continue going back and forth? Well, one of the beams is still left on there. And that's the long beam that's closest to us, like closest to the right side of the screen. That beam causes us problems.
They've never made a mistake. They have made the most of their mistakes.
Hey guys.
All right, Doug, not much in this one for Patrick Cantley and underneath the hole for Paul.
What are you doing?
4 feet 3 inches, cutting through a shadow. Pressure.
I see you.
Lots of pressure on the UCLA brewing right now. This to stay at 20 under and one shot up on John Rahm. Behind the ball. The strokes and jump at the hole. Dead center. Answered the bell there.
Kevin's measuring and cutting for that top left beam over there right now. Getting everything to size to get ready to put up. We still had that extra beam for the other side still on the forks of the tractor, but everything seemed okay. So Kevin needed to go closer, so here I start moving the tractor forward. I was watching the beam over to the right to make sure it didn't shift forward and hit Kevin, and I didn't realize that the front of the fork had hit that beam where Kevin is, that post, and the beams that were up top came falling down, and one clipped the front side of Kevin's head. It felt terrible. Obviously, this is clearly 100% an accident. I couldn't see that front fork where it was going into that beam. I was paying attention to that piece of wood over to the right to make sure it didn't shift forward and wipe Kevin out from under his feet. He asked what I was doing, and I said I was watching the board over to the right. And he told me that it hit him in the head, and I felt absolutely terrible. Because he's already dealing with post-concussion syndrome from having so many accidents that involve his head and his brain. So here's the whole thing, how it played out up until the end. We ended up getting it finished because he didn't just want to go in and lay down, even though his head did start hurting him. He was pretty shaken up after it, and I was too. My anxiety went from like 0 to 200,000. I didn't want to be on the tractor. I didn't want to do it anymore. But I stayed out there to help him, even though I really felt like no help at all. Like I didn't feel like much of any help. I felt like I had ruined everything. He reassured me 100 times that it was okay. He knows it was an accident. He knows that asking me to drive the tractor and do these things and maneuver in this space that's not too big is definitely a lot to ask, but I kept reassuring him that I can do this, when I just should have said, I'm not comfortable doing this, but it's okay. We got it worked out. We got it finished. This was the last beam going up, and those beams are so heavy. I was so thankful that nothing else had happened. Now it's actually starting to look like a structure. This is going to be our hay barn to hold our round bales. We'll have a wooden floor in the bottom, and the top will be an A-frame.
Very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger now that you look at it than when it was.
Yeah.
So the way this one's going, are you kind of excited for your barn?
Yeah. I was really excited for my barn. Eventually, we're building a horse barn for my horses. But I still had so much guilt for running into that post and knocking those beams down on Kevin. I cannot even believe I did that. I don't ever want to be on that tractor ever again. So stay tuned for more videos of Stony Branch Acres to see progress on the hay barn and other things we are doing around the farm. I have lots of videos that I've taken that I've got to edit and upload. Have a good day.